Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 50 Shades of Tay. I'm Taylor Gonzalez, and my guest today is the award-winning best-selling author of queer romance novels, including Kiss Her Once for Me and The Charm Offensive. I am so excited to be joined by Alison Cochrun. Alison, how are you doing today?
Oh, good. Thanks. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. We have so much exciting stuff to get into, but before we talk about your books, I just wanted to congratulate you on your newborn baby.
Oh, thank you.
Very exciting times.
Yes, exciting, sleepless, chaotic. But yeah, thank you. She's wonderful.
Oh, that's very good to hear. So I noticed on your website that you have a spot that says, I believe everyone deserves to see themselves represented in romance novels. And I could not agree more with you. So I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about what that means to you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think um obviously I'm a huge fan of the romance genre. Like before I was a romance author, I was a romance reader. And I think that um for me at least, more than other genres, romance can be really empowering to read. Because basically, to me, romance is characters overcoming like whatever conflict they might have to realize that they're worthy of love, right? And this idea that we're all worthy of being loved as we are. And so I love the romance genre. And one of the things that really kind of impacted my love was reading books like The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory and The Kiss Quotient by Helen Wong. Like these books that kind of challenged my perception of like who could be the star of a romance, like who could be at the center of a love story. And so when I wrote The Charm Offensive, not only was that for me, which is my debut, not only was that kind of about writing queer characters who are discovering they're worthy of love, but also like neurodivergent characters and characters who struggle with mental illness and allowing them to be the leads in their romantic comedies.
Do you remember the very first time you felt represented in a story, whether it was in a movie or a
Oh,
television series or a book you read?
that is a great question. I know that one of the first like um, female queer romances I read was Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellafleur, and that was very affirming for me to see because as a queer woman, like the first queer story I wrote was an MM story, so about two men falling in love, partially because I was just coming out myself and wasn't quite ready to write a sapphic love story. And so seeing Written in the Stars, which was like a very well received book, a very popular book, that was really impactful for me.
Oh, that is great. Can I ask, what do you think of the insane rise in popularity in the MM books right now? You have, Heated Rivalry, obviously the whole series, and then you also have Red, White, and Royal Blue. Like, what do you think about this like insane rise in popularity that's going on right now?
I mean, I am obsessed with Heated Rivalry. As it's so funny when I first watched it and like became feverishly obsessed, I was like, oh my God, are there other lesbians out there who are just like feral for this show? Because like I'm married to a woman, like generally speaking, like I don't care that much about men. And yet I was hooked. And just like hooked on the show, hooked on like Hudson and Connor and their adorable like social media presence. Um, and I did discover, of course, that there are lots of lesbians who cannot look away. Um, that's not the essence of your question. I mean, I think I guess for me, I am always so happy to see gays winning.
Mhm.
And I think like in the case of Heated Rivalry, there's so many things that are kind of beautiful about that show and this cultural moment for that show. But I think one of them is just the it's impossible to ignore the fact that people are hungry for queer stories
Mhm.
because it has been so successful and so ubiquitous in popular culture and has like led to the rise of these two young stars in such a visible way that I think I hope that it will be harder for um, studios and streaming services to ignore us. But I know that there also has been a huge step back from queer media um, in the last like 2 years, especially. So, um, yeah.
But hopefully, heated rivalry is not like the exception to the rule. Hopefully, it is opening the way for more stories to be told.
Yeah, I sure hope so.
Yeah, and Red, White, and Royal Blue is just so incredible too. I love
Yeah,
the movie. I love the book. It's so
the
great.
book is one of my all-time favorites. I mean, I love the movie too, but the book, um, when you talk about seeing yourself as represented in a book, there's a line in Red, White, and Royal Blue where Alex is thinking to himself about whether or not he might be queer. And he has a line where he says something like, straight people, he thinks, probably don't spend this much time trying to convince themselves they're straight.
Mm.
Um, and like when I read that line, I was like, oh shit. That was like a real reckoning for me. I was like, okay, I need to like, because I was not out at the time to even myself. And so I feel like that was a big moment for me.
Oh. Well, another book that is soon to enter into the series of books being adapted into, a movie is The Charm Offensive. I have my copy right here.
Yeah.
It was insanely hard to find a copy of this book. I think ever since the, announcement, it has just been flying off the shelves, but I finally got one and I was so happy
Yay.
to have it. Uh, Such a great title for the book. Where did you come up with the title?
That is a great question that I honestly don't remember the answer to. It's funny because it's the only one of my book titles that I actually came up with. And because, like, a fun fact is authors very rarely get to choose the title of their book. Um, Titles are like part of kind of the marketing game. And so The Charm Offensive is the one title I came up with. My second book, Kiss Her Once for Me, a friend came up with that for me. And they let me keep it. But my third and fourth book, those were titles that we like had to workshop for like weeks on end. Um, and so it's just funny that I don't remember why I landed on The Charm Offensive. It had a couple of different titles, and I honestly think I probably searched like romantic idioms or something.
Mm.
I was just like looking for something like pun real. I don't even know. It
Oh,
was,
well, it's a great
yeah.
title.
Thank you.
So my boyfriend and I were driving the other day and we were talking about the book and we live in the Pasadena area. So we were both wondering if when you were writing about the parts that take place in Pasadena, did you have specific places in mind or what made you think of Pasadena specifically?
Oh, because that is, I think, where the Bachelor Mansion is located. I think I
Oh.
chose Pasadena. I think that's why I chose it. I'm vaguely familiar, like I've been to Pasadena, but I am not in any way a Southern California local or like that knowledgeable about Southern California. So actually, Pasadena is maybe the one place in the book where the places they go are not necessarily real. Whereas like when they travel to like Cape Town
Mhm.
and Bali and Germany, like those are all real places that I've been. But Pasadena, I was kind of just like, I don't know, they go to brunch. There's a brunch spot. Like, of course there's a brunch spot. Um, yeah, but I think that's where the Bachelor Mansion is, if I'm not
Okay, okay.
mistaken.
Ooh, okay. That's cool. Yeah, you'll have to have so you haven't been to Pasadena at all?
I have. I've been
Yeah.
to Pasadena a couple times,
Mhm.
like, but not in a I didn't go to Pasadena to inform the writing of any scenes in Pasadena. I
All
have
right, all
to confess.
right. No, that's all good. We were just curious. Something else I was curious about was where were you when you received the call that they wanted to adapt your book into a film?
Ugh, I wish that that was like an exciting story, but it's not. Because actually, like these things happen over such long periods of time. So I think maybe like 3 years ago now, I met the people who wrote the screenplay. So Sean Jane and Aaron Williams. And that was, they reached out to my agent. And my literary agent also works with like a film and television agent. And so like they worked collaboratively to set up a meeting over Zoom. And that meeting was like two awesome young people who were like, we want to write this screenplay, and they were both queer, um, and Sean Jane is South Asian, and like they had all these really amazing ideas for the story and where they wanted to go with it. And I remember after that meeting being like, oh man, I really want them. I want to work with them. They're amazing. But also I kind of knew that it was a long shot because like
Mhm.
they wasn't like Netflix was meeting with me, right? It was these two screenwriters who basically were just wanted the opportunity to adapt it.
Mhm.
Um, and so they worked on that project for a long time. And in the middle of that was the writer's strike. So that it took a back seat for a while. They weren't working on scripts. Um, yeah, and so it's been like kind of a long process of like not hearing news on it for a long time, hearing from them being like, okay, we wrote the screenplay, here it is, and like
Mhm.
getting to look at it and get excited. But there was definitely not like a moment where I got like a really exciting phone call that was like, it's happening,
Mhm.
like Amazon Prime, So, um, and honestly, before the announcement went out, like a month ago, I got an email only a couple days beforehand being like, here are some updates. They're going to do this announcement. I was like, okay.
Oh.
And so, yeah, it's definitely um, seeing how the sausage gets made or
Mhm.
not made
Oh
is
no.
different, like,
Mhm. Yeah, very true. Well, one of the exciting parts of the announcement was that Nik Dodani is going to be starring in
yeah.
this. I love Nick. He's hilarious. First of all, I've gone to a couple events that he's been at, and like he's so funny. And I just think this is such an exciting project for him. What was it like when you found out that he was going to be attached to this?
I was super excited. And then it was really cool because I found out I wasn't already following him on Instagram. So I immediately did. And then he like DM'd me like this really nice message about how excited he was about the project.
Oh,
And of course, like I immediately had like anxiety sweats. So I was like, oh gosh, how do I like respond to a like actor, So it was fun. Yeah.
oh, that is so great. Yeah, he's incredible in Atypical and in The
Yeah.
Parenting. Both of those projects, I love him in those so much.
I haven't seen The Parenting yet, but I watched
Oh,
Atypical. Yeah.
okay. You should
Um,
watch The Parenting. It's really
okay.
funny. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. I'll check that out for sure. But
yeah. Highly
yeah,
recommend
but
it.
I watched like he has some great like content online too.
Mhm.
And he's very funny.
Yeah, I love him. So excited to see him in this. When you're writing these characters, do you ever envision in your head, like if this one day were to make it into a film or into a series, who would play these characters?
I think that I am one of the only writers who never does that.
Oh,
I don't know why. I am terrible at fan casting. Like when people ask and they're like, "Oh, who would you cast?" I freeze every time. I think because I don't know. I think there's something about how they exist in my head. I can't connect that to like actual people.
mhm.
I don't know if that makes sense. Um, so I am just terrible at fan casting, or I'll be like, oh, who would be perfect is like this actor, but back in like
Oh
1985,
my
what they
gosh.
looked like back then,
Mhm.
and it'll be like, that's not a thing. Or whatever, it'll be somebody who is no longer the age of the characters.
No, that is hilarious. I recently interviewed an author, and I can't remember off the top of my head who it was. And they said the same thing. They were like, "Oh, I would have, cast like Brad Pitt, but in the 90s, or you know what I mean?" And like, so you don't have like a current person in mind to play the age that you need for the story. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and even then, I'm like terrible. Like the book I'm currently working on, could not tell you any actor for any of the parts. I have no idea. They're still kind of amorphous in my head, I think.
Okay, well, something that I loved in recent years was Love Victor, and I also
Oh,
loved The
yeah.
White Lotus. So if anyone out there is watching this interview and they're looking for someone to play Charlie, I love Lucas Gage. I think he's incredible. He's
I love
everything
Lucas
he's in,
Gage
he's like my
too.
favorite person. So it's like if anyone's watching this and they're like, who do we cast? Lucas Gage would be a perfect
I
fit
love
for this
that.
role.
You just get that out to the powers that be,
Hmm.
put a bug in somebody's ear.
Yes, I would love that. What are you looking forward to the most when this turns into a movie? Is it the fact that you will get to see like characters and a story you created, told through a different lens, or is it like knowing that it will reach an audience that might not have read your book before?
Gosh, that is such a good question. I think um, I've had such maybe like cautious optimism about it being made because, so often like books get picked up for option and then it never goes any, things don't pan out.
Mhm,
And so I've kind of been like, oh, it would be so cool if, but I'm not like getting ahead of myself.
mhm,
And so I truly haven't spent that much time thinking about it as like an actual movie that will be made. Um, and I think, and maybe this is also just me, but like once I kind of gave the story over to Sean and Aaron, I kind of feel like it became two different stories.
oh,
Like it became like there's the version that I wrote and there's the version that they wrote. And it's not that they aren't similar. It's just that like the version they wrote is going to have a life of its own, like kind of outside of me.
mhm,
I don't know. I think that's also how I often think about adaptations too, because I think with the exception of Heated Rivalry, most adaptations can't be that faithful, right?
mhm,
Like if you're taking a book and making it into a movie, like you can't keep everything. Not everything translates. Like you can't always have the same narrative structures in a novel that you can in a movie. Um, and so I try to always look at adaptations as like their own art form and kind
mhm,
of their own separate thing. And so I think that's how I've been thinking about this too, is that like, oh, it will be like Sean and Aaron's version of this story that I wrote. Um, and I think I'm most excited to kind of see what they do with it and how they bring it to life and how Nick takes this character that I love so much, but like brings his own experiences and makes it his own.
mhm. Yeah, I cannot wait. So the Charm Offensive was published in 2021 and it went viral on TikTok. But something that I find like so cool and something that you should be very proud of is it has been translated into 8 languages. And so that means, people who don't read English can read it and it reaches a much wider audience. How does that feel to know that, people are reading your words in other languages and it's like accessible to so many people?
It's so wild because I am a cliche American and I don't speak any other languages. Like I took French in high school and I look back on that and I'm like, why? Why did I take French? I have not used it. But I to this day, like I don't speak any French now. But I have, and I don't think you can see it, but like my charm section, like there's a whole other shelf on the top of my bookshelf just for the foreign editions.
Oh,
And it's really cool to see. Yeah, and to like know that um, people I will never get to really probably connect with in
mm.
the world like have read it. Yeah, it's wild.
Oh, that is so cool. Do the foreign editions have different covers?
No, most of mine do not. I think only one has a different cover.
Oh, that's cool though.
I think. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I know some of the Star Wars books, when they are translated into different languages, they get different artwork for the cover. And I know
Hmm.
people that collect the books, so they have all the different artwork covers, and I think that's so neat.
Yeah. The cool one is the German one. Sorry, I'm like playing with this like fidget toy that belongs to my toddler. Um, is the German one has like sprayed edges and they're like little
Oh,
puzzle pieces.
oh,
And
that's
so those are
awesome.
really cool. Yeah. Those are
Oh
my
my God.
favorite.
Oh, very nice. For people who are watching this interview and maybe they haven't had a chance to read The Charm Offensive, how would you describe your story?
I mean, I just when I pitched it back in the day now, it's just The Bachelor but gay. So it's about a reality dating show that is like not The Bachelor, but is The Bachelor. And it's about like a man who is a public figure that decides to kind of go on the show to rehabilitate his public image and date 20 women because he thinks he's straight and in the process falls in love with his male producer.
I love it so much, and I am so excited for people to get to experience the story both in the book form and the movie form. You mentioned that you're working on another book right now. Are you allowed to talk about it at all?
allowed to. I feel like I also just don't know if I could. When I am drafting, I'm a mess. Like, incidentally, my mom, who is here watching my newborn right now, so I can do this, she asked me, she was like, "What is this book about that you're working on?" And I could not describe it to my own mother. Um, but I pitched it as like a comp of like my best friend's wedding, but the people are slightly less terrible and obviously all queer. Um, and so that's kind of what I can say about it right now. It's about like these two people that decide to like sabotage their friend's wedding because they think they should not be getting married to each other.
Oh, that sounds really, really fun. I am very much looking forward to that. And then
Thank
I did
you.
have a question about the writing process
Oh,
itself.
yeah.
Do you ever get like writer's block? And if so, what do you recommend to get out of that funk?
Yeah. I mean, I know some writers who say like, "Oh, writer's block doesn't exist. Just like write through it." Like that's not been my experience. I think we all get, maybe you don't call it writer's block, but I think we all get creatively stuck. And I've had so many experiences like that. I've had, periods where I'm stuck for just a day, maybe a week. I've had stretches where I'm stuck for like months. And I think there are lots of different things I do to get unstuck, but I know one of the pieces of advice that's been the most helpful is that like applying the idea of like, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Mhm.
Um, Applying that to creative output, like if your creative well is empty, like it's really hard to be creative. And so sometimes the best way for me to kind of get unstuck is to enjoy other people's creativity, whether that's listening to music that I think is really cool, or like reading somebody else's book, or watching a show. There's nothing better, I think, when you are a creative person than watching a television show that makes you want to write something like that. You know what I mean? Like that's how I
Mhm.
felt when I saw Heated Rivalry, is I was like, I want, this makes me want to create something that feels this way, that like makes people feel this way, the way that I feel when enjoying it. Or I felt that same way about Our Flag Means Death too.
Yeah.
I just, the first season of that show to me was impeccable, and I remember watching it and being like, oh, I wish I could write this feeling.
Oh,
Um, so I think that's a big piece of advice that I always cling to. And then the most practical piece of advice, like that's small, is when I feel stuck on the computer, I just switch to handwriting.
oh, yeah.
And I find that handwriting for me is a completely different part of my brain. I've actually had to handwrite most of my last two books, because like I tend to, I think, be less like self-critical if I'm handwriting uh, versus when I'm typing.
Okay, that is a really good recommendation. I'm honestly, when we're done with this interview, I'm going to write that down, switch from typing to handwriting because I think that could do it for me.
I love it. It really helps me. And like sometimes I'll even like have the document in front of me and it'll be like, I just can't write this one sentence. And so I'll just have to handwrite like for a paragraph to get back into it. And then I can like put that paragraph into the Word document and keep going.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and sometimes I have to handwrite for like 100 pages, and that's fine too.
Yeah, that's it. That's honestly the secret right there. We figured
But
it out. Oh my gosh. Well, Allison, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to
yeah.
join me. In the meantime, if people want to follow you and keep up with all your upcoming projects and more announcements, where would be a good place for people to follow you?
Instagram, if I am on social media, it's there, though these days I have to take a lot of social media breaks. And then my website, just AlisonCochran.com.
Well, thank you so much for joining me,
Thank
and I hope
you.
you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. Take
Bye.
care.